What is going on, guys? Chris here. Welcome to what is the first video that I said I would start doing once I started the YouTube back up. I said we were going to do like 5 regular Smite matches during the week. And then on the weekends I would record something. Well, here we are. This is the first recording. Not live video, first recording. And it references a tweet that was put out yesterday regarding the SPL. So this video is basically going to touch on what was put out, how legitimate it is, how important it is. It has to do with the state of the SPL going into the next year, and the potential for there not to be an SPL. So let's just get into the tweet. Started here from Brown Water Drinker. This came out yesterday around 3 p.m. So it says, "Hi, SPL player here, as you can see, using a different account on Twitter because I'm under NDA," which is true, they are under NDA. "We were informed a few days ago that the SPL was getting canceled for the next season. It's incredibly frustrating since we were told at numerous times that at worst we would have the league reformatted a bit next year with online play and fewer teams. Then it was leaked to us that the SPL wouldn't have a salary, but would instead be tournament-based with many tournaments sprinkled across the year." Let me just pause right there. Let me just explain something real quick. I've had the opportunity to work in esports for about 10 plus years with organizations, running organizations. In terms of Smite, I've been there since 2016 in terms of running teams. For the credentials, I was with Myth Gaming when we picked up the team that won the Console League Championship. And then I was with Hype Unit when we had the top Smite Console League team. We also had the top Smite Minor League team. And then we were in talks to be put in the league that next season. And then that just didn't work out. And then I was with Obey Alliance for their last full year before Smite got rid of orgs. So I've been in the SPL in terms of like working with the SPL as a league structure for probably like 6 or 7 years. So I have a little bit of insight on how all this stuff works. First off, we don't really know how legitimate this post is because of some things and information that we'll reference here soon. But the SPL having tournaments sprinkled across the year leading into a Worlds is much more in line with what every other esports does. If you think about the Apex League, if you think about any other popular esport that goes on right now, Rocket League, etc., they often do have more like mini tournaments leading up to a big one, and it doesn't force people to live in Atlanta. A lot more online play, so this would be more in line with a structure that's probably better for ROI, but I'll touch back on that in a second. It's undeniable that the SPL hasn't had the highest viewership, that's true, but I would argue that this is almost entirely because of Hi-Rez's poor management of the SPL over the last few years. I agree, but I don't. I agree that the SPL. I don't think the SPL has been mismanaged, but I think the SPL has done what it's needed to do to survive short term without thinking about long term. In the sense that they got rid of orgs, they got rid of their international scene, they brought it in house. Auburn at some point made a really good post that changed my mind a bit on how crucial it was to bring the SPL all into Atlanta. They could do way more things in house that allowed them to get sponsors, which probably helped fund the SPL. But I think there's a reason that no other competitive league does this. I think there's a structure that works, and I think the SPL has opted for a structure that helps them make it through just this year. And I don't think it's bringing in the results that like a board of directors would want to see. This does mean that the SEC and SOC are likely being removed, which means the competitive scene will effectively be disbanded. But don't worry, Hi-Rez will run weekly gem tournaments for the community. I'm assuming that's just sarcasm. Oh yeah, they also intend to completely remove gems given out the community tournaments, like Vulpus and Ice, that have kept the competitive scene alive, as well as other leagues like AGL. That would be an incredibly poor decision. We could debate some of the stuff that this has talked about before, the validity of it, but this would be an awful decision. There's genuinely no reason for that at all. Anyways, it hurts that all of us that knowing their feedback was consistently ignored over the years. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's ignored. I just don't think people really understand the money that goes into running the SPL. It's a multi-million-dollar investment, and I don't really know if they're making their money back off that. I actually would probably guess and say it's very likely they are not making their money back off that. The Casters SPL admins production team had nothing to do with this. They are in the same boat as well. We likely all lose our jobs. That is true. If the SPL was gone, yes, there would be likely hundreds of people that would lose their jobs unless they're shifted into different positions. And even then, I'm not sure. Most of the money will be used for by Hi-Rez to fund Smite 2's ad campaigns, which include having big streamers play the game and a kickoff streamer tournament. I've talked about this before. I think we are past the stage of running or of paying large creators to play a game. I don't think it does what it's intended. We did the OTK event and we did the VTubing event, right? Year after year, OTK surpassed the viewership record that we've ever had on Smite, which was somewhere in the hundreds of thousands of viewers. It was like more than League of Legends for the first time ever. Well, maybe not first time ever, but you know, that I had seen it. I don't think it brings new people into the game. If you look at the active player base before and after, and we don't have the console numbers, so I can never really speak specifically on the numbers, but if you ever look at the active player base before and after, it didn't change. I don't think they were bad for Smite. I think those collaborations are good for Smite, but not in the not if. So to think about this, if you were to ask me, would getting rid of hundreds of jobs in the competitive league be a good trade-off to have Smite 2 and to pay Ninja, Mr. Beast, Tim the Tatman, Lupo, some league streamers to come play our game, pay them millions of dollars? Do I think that would be a smart, effective business decision? Fuck no. No. We were told that if Smite 2 does well, they would bring back the SPL again in the future. However, a break that long would not be feasible for almost any SPL players. I agree. I'm making this post to vent out my frustration behind the protection of anonymity, which would otherwise be impossible to do. Thank you so much. If Hi-Rez is going to cancel the SPL, something they should have done bridge the gap for season 12 by running tournaments all next season for a seed. Yeah, I agree with that. So that was the post. That is apparently an anonymous SPL player who was told this. They are bound under NDA, meaning it's a non-disclosure agreement, meaning they're not legally allowed to say what they were told. However, there are people that are saying, there are people that are saying that it was crafted a perfectly believable tweet about the Smite game, pro player tweeting on a burn account with the pro scene, and then they have this, and then they said they just like copy pasted this into tweets. This was what was posted on Reddit, so people were thinking that this was fake, but then people came back from that and said, your tweet is fake. You can't do that with Chat GPT 3.5 or plus version. Inspect the element. And they said this. Somebody said this tweet was edited. Like this was edited to fit in there. So I don't know. I don't know much about breaking this down in a way to say this is true or not true, or this is a Chat GPT tweet or not. I can just talk about if it were true, what it means and my opinions on it. If this is true, do I think Smite 2 is important at some point? They probably do need to move to Smite 2, but if you were to ask me, okay, well, what are the benefits of having Smite 2, and are they worth the loss of the SPL? No, they're not. The SPL is crucially important to Smite. Influencing people to get good enough to do this for a living is one of the most important things. I could go into another whole 20-minute video on the concerns with not enough players learning Conquest because they get indoctrinated into Arena and other casual game modes, which makes it so they never actually learn how Smite is supposed to be played, which means they can never actually watch the SPL. And getting somebody invested into the storylines of SPL, which brings more viewership, which influences people to get better at the game in the way it's supposed to be played. And when you get good at something, it's more, it's more fun to do. It's more fun to participate in when you are very good at the game. And when you are just kind of in all the casual game modes, because that's just what you've learned, and now you don't want to take that step into the real game mode, which means you'll never really understand what's happening in the SPL, which means you're never going to actually watch it. There's a lot of things I could go into, but getting rid of the SPL, even if viewership is bad, what would Worlds be? Right? Like, what would Worlds be? Worlds is crucially important. SPL is crucially important. We could sit here and talk about the structure of the SPL. I don't think the current structure that they have is the best. I think tournaments that are ran online that allow people to live where they want to live and whatnot would be better. I don't think having people in studio to have matches up every single weekend is the best strategy. Because I'll be honest with you, I watch every Worlds, I watch every important match, but I rarely watch regular season because I know it really doesn't matter. There's nothing on the line in my head. There's nothing on the line, and even at Worlds, there's barely anything on the line because, and this is a credit to Hi-Rez, they take care of their players in terms of like they all get paid salaries, decent salaries, $40,000-$50,000 somewhere in that range, not including prize winnings for the quarterly tournaments, and then also not including, maybe not quarterly, like 3 times a year, and then the money that they can add on through doing the content that they're required to do per month. Okay. So a lot of these players, especially if they're leaning into content, can easily be making over 6 figures per year. Okay. So I don't think that is the best strategy, is to have them in-house playing every week, because the games truly don't matter. And when you got rid of orgs, you got rid of the, what's the word? Accountability for lack of performance from players. And don't get me wrong, I think every player that's in there, for the most part, deserves to be there. So the orgs having accountability for players isn't really saying that the best players aren't in the SPL, because even the bottom SPL players or teams always beat, for the most part, the SOC and the SEC teams. They always do. It's never close. So that's not an issue. But having an accountability where third party accountability, where like, no, I want to have the best team, right? The org wants to win. They don't care about who's on the team. They don't care about who's friends. Nope. You know what I'm saying? So, and you also lose the outside people who don't watch Smite. So when you used to have orgs in the league, and I'm not saying to bring orgs back, but I'm just giving an example that when you used to have orgs in the league, you would have players and fans of Dignitas, of Obey Alliance, you would have those fans watching the game, investment to root for the team, even though they don't watch Smite, because that's what happens with orgs, right? I might not even watch Apex, but when I was with Obey Alliance and we had teams competing in Apex, I was watching Apex because I want to root on my team, right? You want your org to do better, because then that helps promote, a healthy esports scene within your org, and that's important. When you lose that, you start to just get like fans of like the Ravens, the Gladiator. Nobody's really a fan of the teams, in my opinion. They're still just fans of players. And I don't think you can ever really change that without bringing in third party. So the SPL structure, if it's true that they're going to move to online tournaments, okay? If they're going to move to online tournaments and then have that culminate with Worlds, is fine. But if the SPL dies, I think it will cause irreparable damage to Smite as a whole. So much so that if we've ever had conversations about Smite dying, it's never been that nobody will play Smite anymore. It's that the things that made Smite won't exist anymore. There will still be a plethora of 10s and 20s and 30s of thousands of console players that'll play, buy skins, and Hi-Rez will make millions of dollars profit a year on Smite, which will allow them to continue to invest in trying to make other titles, which is another, again, a whole separate video. Smite still is going to be a multi-million profit company per year. But if the league dies, if Smite 2 is created at the cost of the league, and you aren't immediately planning to do another league, I think we lose Smite. And again, the game will still exist. I just think we'll lose what Smite was. In terms of somebody that's a content creator, I don't think it will affect me all that much. The better Hi-Rez does, and the better Smite does, is better for me, because then it brings more fans in to watch, and then my viewership can increase, and I can continue to do this for a living. This is what I do to provide for my family, so I'm pretty invested in this. But I think if the SPL goes away, I don't think much affects me, because I don't think anyone's like, the SPL is done. I'm not going to watch Chris anymore, right? I do my own style of content. I think the content creators will be fine. But I don't think Smite will be what it once was. What would we do at Worlds? Right? Just like an expo where they just kind of talk about their new games and have like some like random tournaments. You know what I mean? Either way, we don't know whether it's real or not. I think we can wait and see. I think the right thing to do, even though you don't have to reply to every rumor that's out there, just have somebody come out and be like, hey, this is true or this isn't true, right? I don't know if they do that. I don't know if they'll announce it at Worlds. I'll be at Worlds, so that'll be interesting. They'd have to announce it at some point, right? Would they announce it before Worlds, after Worlds? I feel like more players would kind of come out and more stuff would come about this to where Hi-Rez might have to make a statement and be like, yo, SPL's coming back next year as far as we know. We're just changing the structure, right? We're not going to be paying salaries. We're not going to be blah, 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 blah. Because then if you look at it, Stu has made a tweet in the past, earlier this year, the beginning of the year, if there was a Smite 2, what would you want to see from it? So, I mean, it has been talked about. But Hi-Rez usually makes the right decisions when it comes to their players. It usually makes the right decision when it comes to their people. And getting rid of 100+ paid jobs to pay some creators who aren't invested in Smite, right? Just to have some temporary boost in viewership, I don't feel like is the right call. I don't think they'll make that call. I think even Stu, obviously when we weren't going to have a Worlds last year, you guys remember when it was Worlds with fans, and all of a sudden he was like, all right, we'll do it. Again, Worlds loses money. It's basically a write-off for marketing. Worlds loses them money. They lose money by running Worlds, right? And he was like, we'll do it because the people want it. So, if you don't want this, say something, right? I don't think losing hundreds of jobs in order to get Smite 2 and then pay some creators to come play the game is a good choice. And I hopefully think they'll realize that if this is true. If this is some chat GPT thing, kudos to this person. But it has us all talking about it. And even if this is fake, I think this is very good that somebody made this joke. Because now we're talking about it, and now there's some accountability around if they were thinking about it, that there would be some constructive feedback provided to the people making these decisions. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you do have more experience with ChatGPT to where you could say, yeah, no, it's for sure not real. Because I did see some people try to do it and they said, yeah, we can't do that. And they tried it on multiple ChatGPT things, but I don't know enough about ChatGPT to say, yeah, no, that's not real or that is real. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think Smite 2 is important enough to lose the league, to lose hundreds of jobs, to lose the pro players, etc., etc. Because not only if we lose the players, that we lose their obligation to create content. Some people might just move on from the game completely, which means we lose not the teams. No disrespect. I don't think anyone cares about the team. We lose some players. Barracuda just retired, and looked how big of an impact that was. You know what I'm saying? People follow players, not teams in the SPL. And if we lose enough players, not a good trade. I'll see you guys next video, which will probably be tomorrow. We'll try and do more of these on the weekend where we record something, talk about what's happening in the community. We're about 4 months away from Worlds. A lot of stuff that's going to be going on. If we get an update on this, maybe I'll make an update video. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about all this. I'll chat with you guys tomorrow on stream. Tomorrow? Yeah, Monday. Goodbye.